Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video. I'm RexFinance, and today I'm pleased to be back with you presenting on a new stock for the first time in a while. This video is going to be jam-packed full of due diligence on this company, and I can't wait to share it with you. With this stock, I would even go as far as saying this is tied for my highest conviction play out of any of the stocks I own in any of my stock market portfolios. Before we get into this, I want to say thank you to Jimmy and Nestor for recently subscribing to this YouTube channel, and I also want to say thank you to Samuel and Jeremy for recently signing up for my paid monthly membership. With that membership, they got early access to this very video you're watching right now, as well as my buy alert that went out as soon as I bought this stock. If you guys are interested in joining our amazing community, there are now two ways you can do that. First, by hitting the join button down below, located right next to the subscribe button. If you don't see the join button, I'll leave a link in a pinned comment to the new Patreon, which gets you the same exact benefits as the YouTube membership does. So with that, I hope to see some of you guys sign up to join our amazing community. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. As you may have been able to tell on the screen, this stock that I bought is actually a SPAC that has not gone through yet. To buy shares in this company, the ticker symbol is PDAC currently, but after the SPAC merger goes through, the ticker symbol is going to be LICY. I first started looking into this company about a month ago when I had somewhat of a wake-up moment when I asked myself, what happens to batteries from phones, electric vehicles, and even power tools at the end of their life? Unfortunately, I found that the answer to that question was that largely these batteries, they go to waste, where companies actually pay other companies dumping fees to dump and throw away these used batteries. In my head, that just didn't make sense because normally when a battery is retired, it still has a lot of useful life in it. These companies are paying huge dumping fees to get rid of materials and chemicals that are in high demand right now. So I found that even just 5 to 6 years ago, nobody recycled and nobody recovered any of the materials and chemicals that came from these used batteries. Fortunately, I was not the only one that figured it out. This is where LICY comes into play, which is the SPAC company that I'm talking about today. LICY was founded in 2016, and they saw the same problem that I saw when I was doing my research on this very topic. And in just 4 years of doing business, the LICY team has transformed the company into the largest lithium-ion battery recycler in North America. I then continued on my path of due diligence with LICY after I figured out that they were solving this problem and found that this company still has its foot on the accelerator. They haven't really even started becoming what they want to eventually become. What I saw was a company that was hiring new employees almost daily. Currently, they're up to around 120 full-time employees. I also saw a company that had a management team that was making very intelligent decisions on where to place their new facilities. I saw a company that is largely undeveloped in relation to what they want to become, yet they're still North America's largest lithium-ion battery recycler. LICY's first facility is in Ontario, where the company is headquartered. Recently, they built their second facility in New York, and just a couple weeks ago, we got news that they're looking at building their third facility in Arizona. So in 4 short years of being a company, LICY has accomplished a lot, and it's not even the tip of the iceberg of what they want to become. But then I started looking into the industry as a whole and found that there are way more consumers than there are producers of these minerals and chemicals. That is part of the reason it is mind-boggling to me why these used batteries are going to waste while their minerals and these chemicals in the batteries are in high demand. But then what I found with LICY, which again is a lithium-ion battery recycling company, is that they can actually produce these minerals and chemicals cleaner and cheaper than traditional miners can. Because of this, it is easy for LICY to get battery supply customers that give them these batteries to recycle, but it's also easy for them to get offtake customers who would gladly buy these minerals and chemicals and put them back into the supply chain. So currently, LICY has 51 battery supply customers, and they have an offtake customer called Traxys who is contracted to offtake 100% of the end products from LICY through the year 2030. To begin to understand how fast this company is scaling up in a short amount of time, the number of battery suppliers they had even just a few months ago in February was only 41. Right now we're sitting at the beginning of July, and I've already stated that their current battery suppliers amount to 51 different suppliers. Not only is that significant growth, but one of those new suppliers is Ultium Cells. If you guys are clueless as to who Ultium Cells is, they have a joint venture and a partnership with General Motors and LG Chem. Ultium Cells is that same battery manufacturer that has a 2.8 million square foot facility right next to Lordstown Motors in Lordstown, Ohio. What's even more significant about this is that this is just the first factory out of 3 that are planned for Ultium Cells, GM, and LG Chem. It's safe to say that LICY is going to remain a partner of GM, LG Chem, and Ultium Cells throughout even these 2 additional factories that Ultium Cells is planning on building. The reason LICY is able to be the official partner of Ultium Cells is because of their 2 existing facilities. Earlier in the video, I mentioned that one of those facilities is in Ontario and the second one is in New York. What's kind of funny about this is that everybody was telling LICY that they were too early to the game. However, what LICY saw that a lot of these other companies didn't see is that it takes time to develop new technology, to develop an IP portfolio, to file and own different patents. So while everybody was telling LICY that they were too early, they took the opportunity to get a head start on the industry and become North America's largest lithium-ion battery recycler. Because LICY has already shown us that they have the ability to scale up quickly, now that they've done all the research, they have the IP and the patents, they're likely going to continue to be the largest lithium-ion battery recycler in North America. Just to provide an example of this, another popular battery recycling public stock out there, ticker symbol ABML, doesn't even have a facility up and running yet. They are currently recycling 0 batteries, 0 tons of materials per year, where LICY is already recycling over 10,000 tons of battery waste per year. Also, the majority of LICY's competitors use thermal processes to recycle batteries. However, this is less environmentally friendly and less economically feasible. Using thermal processes to break down these batteries is also far less efficient. If we look at the different recycling efficiency rates, we can see that LICY's Spoken Hub technologies have up to 95% recycling efficiency. On the other hand, the companies that are using thermal processes or smelting, they only have less than or equal to 50% recycling efficiency rate. I would say LICY's main competitor is probably Redwood Materials, because the founder of Redwood Materials was high up in the management chain at Tesla, and they also are developing factories and facilities close to Tesla's battery manufacturing locations. Later in this video, I will get into the exact process that LICY uses to recycle these batteries, but Redwood Materials and all these other companies for the most part use the smelting or thermal processes to break down the batteries. I've already hinted at it, but this 95% efficiency rate is patent protected, and they also have an entire IP portfolio protecting the methods they use to get this high of an efficiency rate. Because of this, I believe LICY is going to continue to be the largest lithium-ion battery recycler in North America, and I honestly believe at some point in time they could become the world's largest lithium-ion battery recycling company. If we look at the slide that I have on the screen right now, we can see that consumer electronics make up the bulk of the battery waste sources today. However, by the year 2025, this is going to be a massive change. Manufacturing scrap today only makes up 29% of the battery waste sources. However, by 2025, this is by far going to be the biggest source of battery waste at 68% of the total source. For those that are unfamiliar with this term, for simplicity, you can think of manufacturing scrap as basically mess up batteries. Fun fact, 5 to 10% of battery manufacturing output is manufacturing scrap. At first glance, that might not seem like a lot, but you have to account for the fact that there are currently 211 major battery manufacturers in the pipeline. That number is only going to continue to grow exponentially. Looking forward, after 2025, as the manufacturing of batteries gets more efficient and more productive, obviously the manufacturing scrap size of the pie is going to shrink. But what is going to grow is the auto EEMs. So the batteries in the electric vehicles, the batteries in the Teslas. Just for an example, lots of the first generation Tesla vehicles, those batteries in those vehicles are reaching the end of their life. A company like LICY will buy this end of life battery so they can recycle it and then sell those minerals and chemicals back into the supply chain. I promise that I will break down this exact process that LICY uses to recycle the batteries, but first I want to make a very exciting point about this stock. The point that I want to make is that the US government is the largest investor in a company called TechMet. TechMet is a mining investment firm. And if we look at TechMet's website, we can see that TechMet is a large investor in LICY. To be exact, TechMet funded LICY's Series B equity round to enable LICY to construct its first 2 commercial plants. So TechMet owns a large position in LICY. The US government is TechMet's largest investor. Because of this, we can see that theoretically, the US government is heavily invested in LICY. Because TechMet, again, has invested a lot of capital into LICY, and the US government has invested a lot of capital into TechMet, which owns a portion of LICY. Now, without further ado, let's go ahead and break down the exact process that LICY uses to recycle these batteries. So first, the two operating facilities that I've talked about in this video in Ontario and New York, those are what we like to call spokes. LICY uses a spoke and hub business model. I'll get into the differences between a spoke and a hub, but currently LICY is only operating the spoke, and the hub is currently under development and will be operational in 2022. But what the spoke does is that they use a neutralizing solution and shred the batteries down and sell the plastics in the copper and aluminum foils back into the supply chain. Obviously, plastics, copper, and aluminum are pretty easy to come by currently, so this isn't a huge revenue stream for LICY. But this black mass is where LICY gets the bulk of their revenues and will continue to get the bulk of their revenues. The black mass is the money maker in this business. Currently, what LICY is doing is they're turning around and selling this black mass on the market as is. However, after the first hub is up and operational, LICY is going to do a lot less of turning around and selling this black mass as is. What the hub does is it turns this black mass back into the minerals and chemicals that are in high demand in the battery manufacturing industry. So they're going to be taking these end-of-life batteries, using their spoke to turn it into black mass, and then transporting the black mass to their hub facilities where they can turn it into the minerals and chemicals that are in high demand in the battery manufacturing industry. Obviously, this is going to be a big money maker for this company. They've already demonstrated the ability to do this on a small scale. The issue now is building and scaling up this hub facility. I also want to remind everybody that the processes used in the spoke and hub business model for LICY is all patent protected. Currently, LICY has the two operational spokes in Ontario and New York, and a third one that is being constructed in Arizona, and many more spokes yet to be announced. LICY has yet to complete construction on an operational hub, but they're planning on breaking ground on this project later this year. By the end of 2022, the hope is that this hub will be fully operational and they'll be starting to rake in the dough from selling these minerals back to the supply chain. After the first hub is constructed, building additional hubs is going to take way less time and they're going to save a lot more money doing so. It's kind of like when they constructed their first spoke. It took quite a bit of time, they spent a lot of money, but as they've continued to build new spokes, that process has become more and more efficient. To begin to understand the importance of this hub facility, LICY currently has 80 consultants and engineers working on the project. So with this new investment of mine, I see the biggest risk being this company not scaling up and building out their business model as quickly as they want to. Currently, their 5-year rollout plan is to have 3 spokes and 1 hub in North America. Although I think they're lowballing that, I think they'll likely have more spokes and hubs in North America. But they also have plans to build 6 spokes in Europe and 11 spokes and 3 hubs in the APAC nations and China. So you can see that LICY wants to build their business out quickly. They're planning on doing all of this in a 5-year span. That is a ridiculous growth rate. But based on what I've found with the management team, the passion they have, and their foot on the accelerator constantly, I think this is accomplishable. To break this down even further, each spoke has the capacity to process 5,000 tons of battery materials per year. Obviously, with already 2 spokes in operation, that means they're doing over 10,000 tons per year in capacity. However, after they get their Arizona facility up and running, that total capacity is going to increase from 10,000 to 20,000. In Arizona, they have the equivalent of 2 spokes. I don't really know how that works, but all in all, they're already going to have over 20,000 tons of battery material recycling capacity. On the other hand, each hub has around 60,000 tons of battery processing capacity. What that breaks down to is about 25,000 tons of black mass, which we talked about being the moneymaker for this business. Looking at this business model, it's easy to see that revenue is going to equate to how many tons of capacity they have. If they successfully reach their 5-year rollout plan, I believe this company is going to be doing well over $1 billion in revenue by 2025. A lot of their revenue is also going to depend on the price of the materials that they're selling back into the supply chain after they go through the hubs. But based on trends in the demand for these materials, I think that the price of these materials, it's safe to say, are going to go up over time, which is why I believe they're going to do well over $1 billion in revenue by 2025. I also want to note that this black mass is 45% of the weight of a battery. So as the spokes break down these batteries into this black mass, it's obviously cheaper to transport because it weighs less, but it's also safer to transport black mass than live batteries. I've already talked about my main concern with this company, and that being that they can actually roll out this business plan as fast as they want to, but I believe they'll be able to do that. Right now, they're planning 20 spokes and 4 hubs by 2025. I think they could actually probably beat those numbers, but we'll just have to see where they want to take this business. My last concern with this business is the viability long-term of what they're doing. How long are lithium-ion batteries going to be around before something else takes over? But what's really comforting on that front is that the materials that they can get from the black mass, those are going to be in demand for many, many years to come. They've also noted in the past that they have the ability to recycle solid-state batteries, which seems to be the way battery manufacturing is going. But now I want to talk about the SPAC merger and the financials of the company. I said that I believe they'll do well over $1 billion in revenue by 2025, and I personally think that's probably conservative. But this management team is also being even more conservative than I am, and they're only forecasting $958 million in revenue in 2025. They're also forecasting that they will reach EBITDA break even by 2022, which is next year. So you can see that the margins of this business come pretty quickly if they build out their business model. With this SPAC merger, I believe they have some really great pipe investors, which includes Traxys, which again is the contracted offtake partner for Li-Cycle through the year 2030. I honestly don't think we're going to see many of these pipe investors sell out of their position as soon as this company goes public, like we've seen with many SPACs in the past. This company is already debt-free, and the cash they're going to receive from the SPAC merger fully funds their business expansion plan. This means that there will be no need for dilution, although I think it could theoretically happen if they believe they can expand even quicker than they're already planning on doing so. But even then, we already discussed that they're planning on reaching break even next year already. So as this business becomes profitable, the need for dilution really goes away. Li-Cycle is going to do $12 million in revenue this year in 2021, up to $75 million next year, and then up to $264 million in 2023, $700 million in 2024, and then $958 million in 2025. Again, I think these are very conservative numbers that the management team is putting out, just by my own findings. So looking forward, I think the big catalysts for this company are going to be how quickly they can expand and build out their operations, as well as how many additional battery supply customers they can partner with. It's pretty clear that there's not enough battery recycling capacity to keep up with the demand, but Li-Cycle is going to do its part and do its best to meet that demand. Again, I think in the long term, Li-Cycle has a great chance of becoming the world's largest lithium-ion battery recycling company. But with that, guys, let me know down in the comment section below what you think of this company, if you guys are going to plan on buying shares of this stock, all that good stuff. Also, leave a like down below if you guys enjoyed this. If you guys are new here or returning and not yet subscribed, please hit that subscribe button below. And with that, I'll be back with a brand new video later this week. Peace out.